How are you, Schefter?
Hello there, Rich. How you doing?
When did you first hear about it? Or were you just getting a call yesterday and you're like, holy cow, what the hell?
You know, I'll tell you a funny story. I actually was picking up my daughter from school yesterday because I got back. I was in Ann Arbor on Monday, there for some meetings, some business, and I saw Coach Harbaugh there, talked to him a little bit, but got back on Tuesday, hadn't seen my daughter in, 10 days, and went to go pick her up at school at 5 o'clock and said, Dylan, good news. Don't have to work the next couple of weeks. Nice and quiet. And so as we were driving back, I got a call from somebody. They said, hey, is something going on with Josh McDaniels? And I said, well, it was. He was vacillating a couple of weeks ago, but not now. And they said, I'm not so sure about that. And I said, okay. And so you begin to make some calls. You get more information. Next thing you know, you find out, yes, he has or is about to tell the Colts that he's pulling out from the head coaching agreement they had. And so I literally got home and went into my office, and at 10 o'clock last night, went upstairs to say goodnight to my daughter. She said, Dad, I thought you said you don't have to work the next couple of weeks. So that's what that was like there, Rich.
Yeah, man, that's the life of an NFL insider. That's the top of the profession like you, brother. So, okay, what was McDaniels told in that room? But between Kraft and Belichick, did they tell him he's the next coach when Bill's done?
Well, they can't do that because it would be a violation of the Rooney Rule. Okay, I mean, but listen, if he's going to stick around, the biggest thing that came out of that was, I think that they expressed how much he means to the organization, how big a role he can have in the future, things he could do. Let's sweeten your contract now. And again, when you're doing this to a man who already had questions about whether or not he should go, who didn't know what it would be like to move to a city, who didn't want to have to move his 4 kids, who didn't know the connection he'd have to the GM or the owner. I mean, there were a lot of questions he had, and the Colts did their best job to answer them. I mean, the second meeting, that's the reason that Jim Irsay came to Foxborough to meet with Josh McDaniels, because he was not convinced at that point in time that he wanted to go. He needed to be sold more. And I think at the end, the Patriots recognized that, and from the time they got back from the Super Bowl, they acted upon that, and they made him feel wanted and loved and appreciated.
What, monetarily?
Yes, absolutely. They sweetened his contract. And so you can do that, and they did do that, or they're going to do that, but they have an agreement to do that. So that's going to get done, and they're going to keep him in place. The issue with promising him that he's going to succeed Bill Belichick, aside from it being a Rooney Rule violation, is the fact that, do any of us know how much longer Bill Belichick is going to coach for?
Well, that's part of the question about what happened in that room. Did Belichick give an indication?
No, I don't believe that was the case.
Okay.
You know, Bill Belichick wanted him to be on that staff. And so I don't think Bill knows how much longer he wants to. I mean, it's a tough question. Look, he's going to be 66 years old next season. The one thing I could tell you is I believe he's got beyond this year left on his contract. So whether that's 2 years, 3 years, I don't know the exact answer. I really don't. Very few people outside the Crafts and Bill Belichick do. They keep that very closely guarded. But my understanding is there's multiple years left. I would guess 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bill's going to coach this year. And I think when you get to be that age, which is an age that most coaching legends didn't even make it to, and he's still got all the energy and excitement and enthusiasm for that job that anyone half his age has, you know, it's a year-to-year proposition. And you see how you feel after each year. Could he, after next year, say, I'm done, I'm moving? Yeah, I guess he could do that. Could he coach in New England 3, 5? Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. And then that's why also I laugh at the people, Josh McDaniels committing, coaching suicide, not going to. What does that mean? You know what? A year or two from now, there might be a team that is in a situation where Josh McDaniels is the right guy for them at that time. You can't judge how you're feeling on the morning of February 7th.
I will beg to differ with you there, sir.
Okay, that's fine.
I will beg. I mean, come on.
So you're telling me that no team is ever going to hire him as a head coach ever again outside New England?
Hold on a minute. Let me try and not stutter. No team outside of New England will ever hire him as a head coach again. I mean, why would anybody go ahead and do that, Adam? Why would anybody go ahead and trust this guy? I mean, what happened right there? Unless they sign a contract on it. Look, I as you know, I'm not one of those broadcasters that what I'm saying is absolute. Of course, I could be wrong, but come on, who would want to take that shot on him ever again?
he has been courted before and spurned other teams, and they've continued to come back to him. So do I think that there'll be another team? Listen, again, as we're talking, I think the chances are he remains in New England. The chances are he remains in New England long term. So it becomes a moot point.
Yes.
But my point is, I think he's 41. I don't know, Rich, 5 years from now, how many times are teams in a head coaching bind? And if he's doing a great job, you're telling me 5 years from now, that there's not going to be another team that's interested in hiring offensive mind, one of the top play callers in the game?
Well, they better get some sort of
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Blood oath. I mean, right? Let me ask you this, Adam Schefter here on the Rich Eisen Show. Chris Ballard said that Andrew Luck and Josh McDaniels never communicated. I'm floored by that. What do you think when you hear that?
Chris Ballard and Josh McDaniels never communicated.
No. Andrew Luck and Josh McDaniels never communicated. Sean McVay and Jared Goff sat down and broke down every snap of his career before the Rams went down the aisle with him. Were you surprised?
But Sean McVay was out of the playoffs. Josh McDaniels was involved in our Super Bowl run here. So that I don't know. That doesn't surprise me one bit. That surprises you, Rich?
Yeah. I mean, if
it does not surprise me.
Well, what are you hearing? I know what Mort's reporting. Are you hearing the same thing about Luck's shoulder?
Listen, again, shoulders are serious on quarterbacks. Now, again, if you watch Chris Ballard today, he tried to reassure everybody that he believes that Andrew Luck is going to be fine. He's been given assurances from the two doctors that he worked with that things are on track. But I think when you're talking about a quarterback, we don't know for sure. We just don't know. And I can tell you that there are people out there that have concerns about it. Now, I'm not telling you that they're going to be right. I'm just telling you there are people who have concerns about it. So we'll see how that plays out over time. Look, everybody wants him to come back, and his presence is significant for that organization, for the NFL. Without him, they're kind of doomed. But they need him back. I think there's a general sense of optimism, but it's not absolute at this point in time. Like, boy, no doubt he's back. He's good to go. They're ready to have Andrew Luck back. I think there are some questions, and depending on who you talk to, those questions are more significant for some than others.
Adam Schefter, man in demand. I know I've got 5 minutes left with you, so I want to hit a couple more things. Now, with McDaniels in the fold, how does that affect the Kraft Brady-Belichick meeting that's about to be another room where it happens, Adam?
I don't know how that plays out. Look, I think the bottom line to that would be Belichick's expected back, Brady's expected back. I'm sure there are some ruffled feathers there. I'm sure there are some issues to work out. You heard Robert Kraft say last week that that it's not been an easy year. I don't know the depths and specifics of what each man feels about each of those issues, and I'll leave that to them to figure out. But again, what do you think the fallout's going to be? I expect them all back next year. So what could it be?
I know. Well, and that's why I thought first blush McDaniels staying is a way for Kraft to basically say, I've got the guy in waiting in that meeting. But then we hear Belichick was in the room with the Krafts and McDaniels to try and convince him to stay. This is amazing, man. I haven't seen anything like this. Certainly for a team at the pinnacle of the profession. This is unbelievable. And how does Malcolm Butler play into all this? What can you tell me about the Malcolm Butler situation from Sunday all the way to now, Adam? Well,
I'll say this to you, Rich. And again, I know people are skeptical, and you're going to hear my explanation and be skeptical, and that's fine. I'm not telling you it's true. Just telling you I've spoken to a couple of different people who have said to me that it was a strictly performance-based issue, that he did not play well this year, did not practice well this year, and they didn't feel comfortable using him. Now, was there something else? You saw Malcolm Butler come out and deny that, and I recognize that to think that a player who played over 97% of the snaps this year, who was a one-time Super Bowl hero with one of the greatest defensive plays ever made in NFL history, no less postseason history, could just be benched at a time where the Patriots really needed him and their secondary was leaky and they could not get the job done. I get all the optics of that. I do. I'm just telling you what I've been told by two different people. It was a performance-based issue. Believe that or not.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to believe. Guy played every snap against Jacksonville, right? I mean, he got him to the Super Bowl. If his performance waned in the bye week so horribly, I mean, that's a head scratcher, brother. Wow.
It's again. I pass on what's passed on to me.
I know that. So, last one for you. Ballard says the rivalry's back on, and you know what everybody's saying, that this is Deflategate revenge. Do you put anything in that? Because to me, the Patriots want McDaniels back, regardless of which organization he was walking to anyway.
Look, I think, Rich, that's the best way of saying it, is that the Patriots knew that they needed Josh McDaniels, that they could have promoted Shadow Shea to offensive coordinator, but they knew they were better off with Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator. Do I think that's the main reason that they went after him as hard as they did? Absolutely. But do I think in the back of their minds that Kraft and Belichick aren't snickering, that they're pleased that they did that? I'm sure that is a passing thought. And similarly, in Indianapolis, if you watch Chris Ballard, who did a great job with that press conference, was spot on in his assessment, struck just the right tone, I thought. He was very diplomatic, very cordial, very assertive, until the very last statement when he went, the rivalry is back on, and walked off the stage. Now, that's the way to finish a press conference. Okay? So I think that he's disappointed and irked that he lost his head coach at this time. The fact that it's the Patriots throws a little bit of spice onto that rivalry, but I don't think that was the driving force behind what the Patriots did, nor the disappointment the Colts feel, but it's probably in the back of the minds of all the parties involved.
Once again, great scoop, Adam. Great scoop. And so folks can download your pod today, correct? That's
Mr. Dawkins got emotional talking about the Philadelphia victory and what it meant to that city. It was pretty interesting.
Why not, man? That was unbelievable. And Jeffrey Lurie as well. Great stuff as always, brother. Love you.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you. Love you too, buddy.
Okay, that's Adam Schefter.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.